Hey folks, what's up? It's your course director, Emily Ray here. Just wanted to give you a little bit of positive, productive feedback on these portfolio websites that you recently submitted. So I want to start us off with the question, which is, why do you need a portfolio site? This is something for you to be thinking about moving forward so that you can make intentional decisions to support your need for this kind of site. So first, is it to showcase your skills and abilities to a potential employer? That means you know a business or a team that you want to join, so you've got to show that you can do this kind of work. Is it because you know you're going to be a freelancer and you need somewhere to advertise your skills and your services and what it means to do business with you? Or is it just to share your academic growth over the course of your time in MCBS, learning new things, trying new things, and just showcasing what you've learned? There's no right or wrong answer. There's just the answer that's right for you. And if you can kind of have this idea as a North Star, you can make decisions about your portfolio and what to include in it in a really purposeful way moving forward. So I want to highlight just in the beginning a couple of ways that you're going to be expected to showcase and share your work. These are some screenshots from an online student by the name of Kevin Facer, and I'm just going to show you what he did to highlight and provide more explanation for the projects that he is sharing. So first up is this video, right? It's got a title that says what matters most. Notice that the title is relevant to the piece and not to the assignment, right? So this doesn't say DVA final cut or something of that nature. And then it goes on to say that this is a mock advertisement for Canon as part of an educational assignment to create an integrated marketing campaign. So Kevin is highlighting that it was for school, but the intent was towards a larger marketing effort. And he goes in and shares a bit more about the intent of the piece, and also that it was written, directed, edited, narrated, and produced by him. That's important because if there are projects that have a lot of layers or roles to them, you really want to highlight that you did all of them if you did, or if you did a single one, make sure that that's clear as well. Kevin does a great job here of also talking about what tools were used in the making of this piece. Also, equipment or hardware could be included here as well. This is an example of an advertisement that Kevin did for Dick's Sporting Goods, and it talks about the intent of this piece was to appeal to distance runners. And so we have a better understanding of how and why he chose to highlight what he did in this piece, and that it was made with Photoshop. And then last but not least, here is an example of what a branding or a logo explanation might look like, right? So he talks about this was for a fictional company created for school, but goes into more about the design concept, so that we can make sure that we're kind of understanding the full thoughtfulness behind the design. Again, he's highlighting the tools that he used in the process. The expectation, of course, is that as you have a better understanding of your portfolio and the need for it, these are some ideas about how you can showcase your work in the best and most complete way possible. So let's go over to these sites and take a look at what you guys submitted. First up, we're taking a look at Danny's site here. The brand is HK Prompted News, and then we kind of have a large banner image and then the advanced way, but nothing that really kind of shares in a thorough way what this is about. So as we scroll down, I can see that this is about us, but you're also highlighting yourself as an individual. So which is it? Is it a company or an organization, or is it you as an individual? And if this is about changing the news paradigm, where are the news, right? And where are the articles, and where the demonstration of this thing that you're kind of promising here, right? I'm scrolling down and I can see that you've got a couple of articles highlighted here at the bottom, but they don't make sense for this sort of larger container that you have placed them in at the moment. This feels incomplete, as if it's kind of raising more questions than it's answering, right? And because it's incomplete and not well explained in terms of intent and then following up that intent with content, it makes it look like not a credible source for news, right? There's nothing that looks sort of official about this or trusted. And so keeping that in mind as you work towards building this site out, how can you create that impression that this is a trustworthy or newsworthy site? Scrolling down here to the bottom again, I noticed that this is an article or some information that you created for your research class, right, which is awesome and definitely suitable for a portfolio, but more an educational portfolio, right, unless the entirety of the site is going to be news articles such as this. Right now it's incomplete in a way that it's hard to know, your full intent for it, and so there's a lot that needs to be developed here in order to paint a more complete picture. Next up, we're taking a look at Nico's site. And so from the tagline here, graphic design just got even more simple, kind of lets us know that this is going to be about design. This is your high value real estate area, which means it's the only area on your website that you can guarantee people are going to see either before they hop to another link, scroll down, or jump off the site entirety. And for that reason, you need to have clear branding, which you do, a tagline of some kind that lets us know what the site is about, but you've said that this is about graphic design, but you don't deliver that here on the home page. It is a nice photo of you, but more important than this is your work, and to highlight it in a featured way here on the home page. So I would recommend maybe a smaller picture of you, right around the name or the tagline, and then maybe 3 featured projects that you want to make sure that folks don't miss. We got an easy way to get in touch down here. Jumping next to portfolio. So here it's kind of opening up and we can see in this light box, I'm going to click through. It only has one project there and it says King Surf Shop logo. And so I want to refer back to what we're showing here as an example of how to more deeply explain and contextualize your work. I'm going to expect to see a title, a description of the piece, the design concept, and the tools that you use to create it. Also, these slideshows are not the best way to present your work because you see how it's cutting off the design here, and I can't even get like a real full appreciation for it until I click on it. It's going to open up even bigger, but what if I didn't click on it, right? Then I couldn't see that this was a surfboard and I couldn't appreciate that as a design choice, so something to be thinking about there. On the About page, it's just giving me some background. Stylistically, this is kind of all over the place because we've got different color navy blues here. We've got 1, 2, 3, at least 3 fonts, and all of these little containers are scattered around and there's not any kind of like real consistent alignment. My recommendation is to get rid of all these boxes and to create a little bit more cohesion here on this page, both in terms of typography and the flow of the information. Book online, as it's opening up, these are our services. So here you're referring to yourself as an individual, Nico, and here you're referring to yourself in the plural, so ours. Are you an organization or an individual? It doesn't matter which way you put it, but be consistent, right? We've got logo design, and so for 10 hours of logo design, you charge $50. That means that you charge $5 an hour for that. Web design, 32 hours at $200 in ways that we can book. So like it's great that you have this in place, but just know that you're undercutting yourself in terms of price in this space. Under more, plans and pricing, if I go ahead and click that, this is pretty much the same page as it was back here, so that's a bit redundant in that space. Nico, what you're really missing are more examples of your work, which showcase your abilities, which allow people to see what you've done and what you could potentially do for them. My recommendation is to go ahead and create a little bit more featured work here, and not just stuff that you are doing in your courses, but actually stuff that you are engaging in on your own to develop more of your own sense of style and to curate a body of work based on that. You've got your social media up here. As I'm like hovering it, I can see that it's linking out to a space on Instagram here. You don't have anything up yet, but let's stay connected because I want to follow your journey and see what you're posting. I'm going to go back here. And you've got your contact information down on the bottom. This is a great container, but what's missing is the content that supports this claim here, right? About graphic design just got even more simple, all right? Jumping next over here to CJ. We've got eager to create and produce quality media that is entertaining and inspiring. So the brand is here, CJ Entertainment, but the way that this is laid out, it almost to me seems like, are you just featuring this design or is this the brand? And I'm curious what happens when I jump to this page. the brand disappears entirely, right? So there's no like set identity up here. I'd like to see CJ Entertainment right up in this space, and for you to use this homepage in a way that is leveraging this high value real estate area. So it's a little bit of an about you statement or about the work you want to do, and then maybe a couple of featured projects right here on the homepage. So we've got this great small bio. I have some concerns about the condensed nature of this text and the gray because it's not giving like quite enough color contrast. I really appreciate the simplicity of what you've done here. Like these sites don't need to be ornate and they don't need to be artistic expressions in and of themselves. They can be a container for something else. But again, I think that this font is a little harder to read because it's condensed. I would prefer to see something a bit more like this and maybe making that text white. We've got your resume here. It's opening up and it just downloaded a Word doc. This is problematic for a couple of reasons. One, Word docs are editable, and if I don't have Microsoft Word, I might not be able to open it, and therefore I don't get the information that I'm seeking. Two, it's kind of like a bummer to download things when I could just read the text right here on the site. When you put the text here on the site, you're also getting that keyword-rich content to help with the search engine optimization of what you're creating. Just connecting with you here in this space so that we can keep in touch beyond classes and such. And I can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that, all of this stuff is linked out. Sometimes people forget that. Film is going to pop up a video. I don't know if this is a custom thumbnail, but it's a great shot. I can see that you're using a great relevant title, and you did a good job of doing the summary, the skills you use. I would say maybe like these software or tools, right? And you don't have to use this phrase described asset. You can just, say skills used videography and editing, tech used Premiere Pro. Hopping over to photography, we've got some great photos. This kind of rounded edge is stylistically different from everything else that you've presented up to this point, so I think that that's a disconnect. I would go just with the sharp corners, since that's kind of the way all of your other images are. Beautiful work. When I click on this, larger light box, and we've got the title there. When you are putting images into a slideshow, specifically in Wix, unless you update the titles, it's going to default to the file name, which is usually nonsensical, like dsc_3321.jpg. And that's just information that your viewers don't need to see and that you don't care about. So this is a nice touch to go ahead and just give a little bit more of a relevant description of what it is that we're seeing there. And then design. So we've got Illustrator and Photoshop. So I'm going to hop here to Illustrator. And we can see, I'm going to click on this one. There's that file name that we talked about. But here's a nice description: designer, title, described asset. I'm sure you're learning this in your web design class or your graphic design class, but you don't have to use that as a label because that's not really that intuitive, right? That's language that we as media professionals use, but like you can remove this as a title. You could just say something to the effect of like skill used logo design, tech used Illustrator again. All of that is well done. Again, sort of these rounded corners aren't the same as these hard corners. And then we've got hard corners here on this. It's just stylistically a little different, and you're going to look for consistency where you can. This is great, CJ. It's complete as it is, but it can always be evolved as you continue to evolve. Taking a look at Flavia's here, marketing manager. You've done it's clean, it's classy. We've got ways that we can keep in touch with you here that are linked. We have some redundancy in these links, right? So services, resume, contact, all of that is the same up here. I'd go ahead and remove these and maybe just write another small sentence or two about you in this space, but overall, nice first clean impression. Jumping to the resume. So here you've done a beautiful job of outlining what you've done in these spaces, both educationally and then kind of professionally. So all this looks great. You've worked on a lot of projects that I'd like to maybe see you include here that kind of define a bit more what you're doing in the creative space. Services. We've got marketing, design, social media, and content. So really nicely done with featuring these projects, right? So we've got the title, what it is, magazine cover created, these are maybe just clarify that these are the software or the tech skills that I use. But really beautiful done, really beautifully done job. And also when you're sharing your web design work, it's always a great idea to share a link if you can, because this is interactive design. And if I get to interact with it, I get to see more of your abilities in terms of like user experience and that sort of thing. So if you can, always include that. So that's a great job. Just kind of hopping back over here, contact form. Keep in touch. Flavia, I want you to be considering, what is this site for? Again, let's jump back here. Is it to showcase your skills and abilities because you want to get a job with someone else? Is it because you want to advertise yourself as a freelancer? So for this, you talk about services that you can do these things, which are great. And you've got some projects which showcase that, which is great. But there's nothing that really talks about what it means to do business with you. So like, keep in touch isn't the same as hire me. So be thinking about like, is this to get jobs or is it to be hired by somebody else? And that intention is important moving forward. Next up, we're going to, I think this is Oswaldo's site. And so Plazola's promises, we got contact right up front. And then ways to connect on social. This stuff's still linking to Wix, so you're going to want to go ahead and connect those out to your social media accounts. About me, aspiring content creator and supporter, a lot of goals with media. Like you talk about me, but there's no real identity to connect to, because Plazola's Promises isn't, like a name in and of itself. It's not a household brand. And so it's kind of like, I don't know who me is, right? Because this isn't a person's name. I know you to be Oswaldo, right? But maybe here introducing yourself as, hello, I'm Oswaldo, and maybe providing a picture can kind of help folks connect to the me that you're talking about here. You do video editing, photo editing, and social media. So this is cool that you talk about these as areas that you have impact, and then kind of talk about what it means to do that kind of work. There's some couple of things down here to pay attention to, some misspellings in this area, and also you want to be consistent with your fonts, both in terms of sizing. This is smaller than this, and in terms of the fonts that you're using. So this font is different than this font is different than this font. You want to achieve consistency like in that space. I don't see any of your projects, and I don't see anywhere that I can click, right? So for me, this is incomplete in that you say you do this kind of work, but I don't get to see it. And so I know that that's a next step, and that there's an evolution in progress here. Something I'm thinking that there's an extra L in Gmail up there. You guys want to be really discerning and get like a sharp eye, to make sure that you aren't misspelling things here on your portfolio websites. This is Nicholas's site. So content creation and digital design stuff's kind of loading in here. There's a lot happening here on the page. We've got your logo, so identity, and then this tagline just really lets us know what you do. So that's really clear. And so now we expect to see content creation and digital design. You follow through on that by saying, here's videography, graphic design, and web design. Instead of saying, welcome to my portfolio, this is where I'll be showcasing, that's kind of a given, right? So maybe this is just like an introduction to you, because you talk about my, right? And we know who Nicholas is. So maybe this is just a short little introductory statement about you and who you are as a creative or your work in this space. We've got your social media, and I can see that all of that is linking out. We talked about this a little bit in your resume review, which is your handle of Salty Dead Boy. We've got that for Twitter, and we've got it for Facebook, and we've got it for Instagram, which is awesome that you have that. But like, is that your brand? Is that your identity? Is that something that's personal that you're pulling over to the professional side of things? It'd be a good idea to go ahead and make that decision now, right? If you need to change those handles, or if you want your brand or your identity to be Salty Dead Boy, that's okay too. But just what is needed is consistency in this space. Hopping over to services. So what this tells me is that, like, if you say you have services that you can do graphic design, video editing, and web building, is that you're a freelancer for hire. And so I'm happy to see that you have a call to action. Need a website? I can build it. And then contact me for pricing, right? So this is lovely in that you're setting up that you get paid for this work, and all they got to do is contact you. This is a bit redundant, right? So maybe when you say contact, it just anchors someone down here to this point in the page. Also be thinking about, if you're having a potential client contact you, what information can you ask for up front to make sure that it's a good client for you, or it's a good fit, or how can you get more information without having to hop on a call, because as a freelancer, time is money, and the more you can get on the front end, the quicker it could be to onboard someone and get started with the work and get closer to getting paid. Right, so we've got all of these things here, which is great. Work is going to be examples, right? So we've got fishing videos, school videos, all kinds of different stuff. We've got graphic design. So again, happy to see you guys talking about these things. In a previous review, we talked about this like described assets not being fully necessary as a label, because it's more internal speak that folks outside of media communications might not understand that label, right? So, just being a bit more colloquial, which means how people talk, rather than kind of sticking very stringently to these bullet points. We've got your web design here. Glad to also see the link to go visit the site. You might consider putting some of these into mock-ups and considering some custom thumbnails if you don't already have them. You've got a lot of great work, but the pages are starting to look cluttered because you have that much. You might start thinking about putting these on separate pages. About, so there you are. I'm going to recommend that this text be left aligned for easier readability. In English, when we're reading from left to right, either eyes wrap to the new starting line or point on this line. It's easier for us if that starting point is kind of on a consistent edge. That would border nicely and align well with the image that you have here too. Resume, so your education, your experience, this is great, right? Like, you talk about doing freelance content creation and stuff. You might want to talk, about some of the projects and things that you've worked on as well. So just because they either weren't paying projects or for a particular client, you can definitely document the work that you're doing to showcase abilities, right? So contact, again, here's the form, a bit redundant. So it might be that you get rid of this and only have a contact page. This is really complete at this point, Nick, and impressive for Portfolio 3, but a few tweaks is really going to help you get this to a better place. Darren, makeup influencer, yes, right? So you spell it out right here on the top, and then we've got some high quality images that are coming in to showcase the work, right? Your skin is but a canvas, gorgeous. Beautiful, right? But that's kind of it for the homepage, and then you're sending us somewhere else. My recommendation is maybe to build this out a little bit more. It might be that a scrolling one-pager would work best here for you. So we've got about, right? So what if underneath this we have the small little about? Under posts, we're bringing in your Instagram, right? So like this is content that's feeding here on the homepage that's constantly being updated because your Instagram is being updated. Product links, right, is where you're talking about the amazing things. So what if this is just featured posts, right, in this scrolling lineup that we talked about? So go back, hot banner image, about me, Instagram content, constantly refreshing, product links, and then a contact form. So instead of having to go to all these different pages and have all these load up, have this just be kind of like a one scrolling experience. I know you do some makeup tutorials too, so I'd like to see those added here to the site. You know, I like this script, but the kerning or the spacing of the letters gives it a little bit of a jagged appearance in a couple spaces. I would make that these letters a little bit closer together to try and alleviate that squiggly there with the R and what's happening here with the O and the W, and maybe even a little bit bigger, right? A little bit flashier, because like this is everything. It's like drama and gorgeous, and so like this feels a little not as polished as the looks that you create, but happy to see how much you've already done, and just like a few tweaks on this and you're gonna get it to an even stronger place. We've got Greg, right? So 07 Entertainment. Recommendation off the bat is don't use all caps for body text. All caps is fine for a heading or subheading, but it's harder to read, especially with a condensed font. It becomes like a word search, right? Like where I'm looking for a word to circle, like within like a puzzle. And like the easiest thing to read here is about us or our mission. And so like it also looks like this is maybe about us is maybe the heading for this section, and mission is down here. So that's a little off for me in terms of the flow of the info. You know, I see you here, Greg, but we don't know who Greg is. We don't know that's you. It's a missed opportunity for you not to put more of your stuff right here up on front, right? Because the question to ask is like, is 07 Entertainment just you, Greg, or is it like a collection of people, right? You say we offer, but is it a we or is it just you? And I know this is you, right? But other people don't know that. And like you're saying, we offer photography, but like if this is a picture of you, you probably didn't take this picture of yourself, so this might not even be your photography. So stuff to be thinking about, right? So videos, hopping over here, several, you know, like what did you do on these? Like what, this is a music video, it's rolling in, but I have no idea the role that you played, the gear you used, what you edited in, any of that stuff. Music. Loading on in, we got some songs here, right? But like, did you produce this music, or are you starring in this music, or did you do all the things? Probably did all the things, because I know that you're like talented like that, but you're not spelling that out for me, and people could miss that, and I would hate for people to miss how talented you are. Modeling, there you are. This is great. How would I contract you for modeling? We've got a couple of photos here, but can you share more? Can you give me more of a range? Contact, places where we can get in touch, right? But nothing else. Are these the only ways that we can hang out or work together or collaborate? Something to be thinking about. This site is pretty professional, so let's drive, you know, like, again, why do you need this site? Is it because you're getting people to hire you, or because you want to go work for a team, or you have services to share? None of that's really clear, and it needs some specifying. You got the content, but just help us understand the content. Next up, we've got Monique. So here, you know, we've got these examples. We've got an identity, but then just like some photos that I don't know what to make sense out of. It doesn't say that you do graphic design, or that you're a photographer, or that you do video work or anything. So I don't understand. I don't know how to make sense of these things. I can't click on them, right? So they're real small. I can't appreciate the I cannot appreciate the detail and the stuff, you know, that I want to get in here and really see, because they're so small, right? This says it's your portfolio, right? But I don't know. Did you take these photos? Did you do the illustration? Did you do the design? None of that is clear. About, these are the things that you can do, which is great. And we've got your resume here, and it's going to open as a PDF. Having to download this is a bummer. Make sure that this text is on the page and can be accessed right here without having to download anything. And then contact is just a form, but why are people contacting you? Are you for hire, or are you looking to get hired by a company? Or is this just a school portfolio? There's a lot of unanswered questions here. Certainly what is not in question is that you do cool work, but I can't fully appreciate this because I don't fully understand it. And it's going to be your job to shine a light on your skills and abilities in that way. If you guys have any questions about like this review, holler back. This is a kind of a work in progress, but fully the expectation is that you revise the site before you get to your next portfolio class. It should be a constant work in progress, but also constantly complete, and it should not raise more questions than it answers. It is just a snapshot of where you are and the work you like to do and who you'd like to do it for at any given point in time. So let me know how I can help.